All right, good morning, everybody. It is 11:01, and we're going to get started here in about a minute or two. Want to highly recommend that you guys grab some paper and a pen or have your camera on your phone ready, because I want to encourage you to take pictures here. So we'll get started here in about a minute or two. Okay, everybody, welcome to our webinar or podcast. We are very excited that you joined us. Want to wish everybody a happy Easter, Good Friday, which was yesterday. And I'm looking at this picture here and just absolutely blown away. We've got a rabbit with a face mask on, so I thought it was a little cute. First of all, I want to welcome all of you, for those of you that are joining us for the very first time today. We're going to probably go about an hour or so and then let you guys spend the rest of your weekend with your family. But before we let you spend that time, we think we've got some very, very powerful information here today that's going to help you financially, and we'll discuss a whole bunch of things. And then what I'd like you to do is, a lot of you will have a lot of questions. And how do I know that? Because I've been doing this for a very long time in this industry as an entrepreneur, and also as a coach, as a business coach. And over the last 2.5 weeks or so that we have been self-quarantined, like all of you, we have been doing webinars on a daily basis. And sometimes we've been doing like 4 or 5 webinars throughout the day. They've been lasting about 90 minutes, and again, we'll have another one of these next week on Tuesday at 7:30 Pacific time. So from wherever you are, please join us. I think we've got some very, very valuable information to share with you next Tuesday. But for today, we just want to make sure that you guys understand what is available for you out there. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, you may or may not have heard of a book called Think and Grow Rich. These are the different versions. It was written by a man by the name of Napoleon Hill in 1937. And he wrote this book really during the Great Depression. And, you know, this country is only officially recorded as being only one depression, and that was in the 1930s. And what Napoleon Hill did as a reporter, he went and interviewed Mr. Andrew Carnegie. He asked Mr. Carnegie, what is the secret to becoming successful like him? And he thought it was a very interesting question that he empowered Napoleon Hill, commissioned him to go and interview other success stories like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and the list continues to go on. These are all the men who really created this country. These are the industrial giants. And even today, their reputation still echoes loudly. And I just want to encourage everybody during this time to read this book called Think and Grow Rich. And this book has now sold over 200 million copies around the world. Now, if you're not an author, you may not know, how many copies is 200 million in the book industry or in the authoring industry, and it's quite a bit. In fact, there's only 5 books that we know of today that have ever sold even over 100 million, and most of them have become a theatrical release. You may have heard of a book called Harry Potter, another one called Lord of the Rings, another one called The Twilight Saga, and then, of course, the Bible, and, of course, Think and Grow Rich. These are the 5. That's it. 3 of those are fictitious. 2 of them are very real. And I just want to, again, reiterate how important it is for you to read the 2 real books. One is the Bible this weekend, and then, of course, Think and Grow Rich. So what's interesting about this is 3 years ago, I went to the Napoleon Hill Foundation and asked them if we can get the rights to make the movie. They gave us the rights. We made this movie called Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. And what we're going to do also next week, I think it's going to be Friday night, we are going to do a movie night, and we want to encourage you and all your guests and family and friends to come and watch a movie with us on Zoom. We're going to play this movie for you, and we think it would be awesome. So especially at a time like right now that people need some positive things in their life and stuff that they can put into their mind. And so now this movie has been going around the world. It's selling like hotcakes and still going crazy today. And then, of course, from there, this book, this is the new book that's out now that I want to encourage you to also buy. So there were the other three versions. Now, this particular version is the 1937 unedited version. And then of course, the book called Think and Grow Rich was made, a guy by the name of Dennis Kimbrough wrote this book called Think and Grow Rich, a black choice. And then shortly after that, a Latino choice. And then after that, we had, what do you call it, the Asian choice. So we made this book, this came out this year. This was the original cover, an Asian choice, and of course when we did a test study, a lot of people were offended by this font. So we actually changed the whole book cover to this, and then a lot of people said they weren't sure if that was a sunset or a sunrise, and so here we are. We've got the official book right now called How Rich Asians Think. A publication of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, part of the Think and Grow Rich publication as well. And so just wanted everybody to take a look at this. And even if you're not Asian, I highly recommend you read it. You know, there's some great interviews in there with guys like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. You've got Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. You also have Steve Aoki, an incredible DJ today, the highest paid DJ out there today. So you got Steve Aoki. So great stories. In fact, in this book, Think and Grow Rich, I was the first guy that Steve Aoki actually gave the secret or the story behind why or how he, if you know Steve Aoki, where he came up with the idea of throwing the cake at people's faces in the audience. And that's a real thing. If you actually go on YouTube and check it out, you'll see Steve Aoki basically caking people in the audience. So if you read the book, you'll find out how and why that is. But now, so enough about me. I just want you guys to understand today that what our demographics looks like. This is a little bit dated. It's this was a Census Bureau that estimated back in 2011. We should probably update that. But today, our population is about 330 million around the United States. Now, you may think that's a lot of people, but it's actually not. I mean, we're a relatively young country. We're still growing. And so out of this group, what I want to do is take out another generation called the baby boomers. Now, these are people that were born between 1946 and 64. So these baby boomers now, which had an average of 4 kids, 92% of the women who could actually have a baby did. And so what this did is it started the need for what these baby boomers needed in life. So let's look at this timeline. So, you know, in 1995, actually, my wife actually got into the financial industry in 1994. And by 1995, a year afterwards, I had seen the evidence of the amount of money she was making. So I decided to quit my job and started working with my wife. And so this page right here is so compelling because this page right here is really the page that convinced me that I should go in business with my wife. So I'm definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I mean, I've got some common sense, and this page right here really drove the logic part of making my decision very helpful. So in 1946, if you look at all the different companies that were doing well, it was all baby related. Gerber Food, Johnson & Johnson. Of course, after that, the babies got a little bit older, and then there was a need for toys. There was a company called Hasbro, a company called Mattel. The babies got a little bit older, and it started the fast food revolution, and that's where McDonald's was created. And then, of course, the car industry in the 70s, Lee Iacocca. Believe it or not, Chrysler was in deep financial trouble, and Lee Iacocca came to their rescue and bailed them out. And so that is the story behind Chrysler, and then they targeted the baby boom generation. And then in the 90s was the technology boom, and then we had the real estate boom, and here we are now in the year 2020 or 2019, 2020, and the first baby boomer just turned 73 years of age. So guess what industry we're in today? The industry that is growing and exploding even at this very moment is the financial service industry. You know, I'm going to be doing a talk on Tuesday. In fact, Tuesday is going to be a 90-minute call, a webinar, because I've got so much to share with you guys. But I've experienced many recessions in my career over the last 30 years. And the ones that I can tell you was back in 2000, 2001, 02. And then we had another one in 08, 9, and 10. And now we're experiencing another, some people would say, a recession. Some people say we're not in a recession, but we'll talk about that next week on Tuesday. But I just want you to realize that, you know, this industry right now, I can tell you, is a recession-proof business. And a lot of you might be confused with that and saying, wow, recession-proof business, that's a very bold statement. But I'm going to tell you why and how this industry is recession-proof, and we'll tell you about that next week on Tuesday, because that's not the subject matter for today. But I just want you to realize that this is a tremendous industry to be in business. So here we are right now facing a nation where most people are asset rich but cash poor. So most people don't have a whole lot of disposable cash or cash that they can, you know, or an asset that they can convert in 24 hours. But most people are asset rich and cash poor. And so because they're cash poor, what do we know what these baby boomers and just people in general need today? So here's what I know. They need money and they need toilet paper. So these are the things that people want today. And so let's talk about money here for a second, because can't help everybody with toilet paper. But what people need are the 6 steps to financial security. So number 1 is increasing cash flow. 2 is managing their debt. Number 3 is having an emergency fund. Number 4 is having proper protection. Number 5 is creating a long-term savings account. And number 6 is preserving their estate and passing it on to their next generation. So this is a very, very important page. I mean, this is really the foundation for creating wealth. And so we're going to talk about each one of these, not in a whole, not tremendously in depth, because I don't have a whole lot of time with you today, but just so you guys know, let's talk about increasing your cash flow and managing your debt. So I want to talk to you about these 2 things right now. So what are some ways that you can increase your cash flow and also manage your debt today? So here are some things that I wanted to share with you, things that you can do, expenses that you can possibly eliminate or reduce during a crisis. So some of the things that you can do right now is this. Right now is a very important time for you to start to manage and look at your cash flow, your cash coming in and your expenses going out. So as you're managing this thing, you can't just ignore it. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to wing it, you know, and just kind of throw in the towel. This is a time where you need to sit down with your significant other, your spouse, and go, all right, what are our expenses? Work on a spreadsheet, and let's start managing those expenses now, okay? So having said that, let's look at your non-essential food shopping. So I know that a lot of people are going out there in traditional times, hey, you're buying a lot of good stuff to eat. You know, when I say good stuff, I'm talking sugars and, you know, stuff that aren't as nutritious. And I want you to think of those as non-essential food shopping. Well, if you were to look on a monthly budget for an average family of 4 people, those essential shopping needs could be as high as $300 a person, or a family, I should say. So imagine now really focusing on the key things that are essential to your daily nutrition. But don't look at, you know, all the desserts and stuff like that. Some people are going and buying mochi, strawberry flavored green tea mochi. Well, so that's not an essential food. But if you cut that out, suddenly, you know, you've got an extra $300 a month. So some of you could be more, some of you guys could be less. I estimated that at around $300. What other things can you eliminate right now? How about subscription services, right? So these are your subscription boxes where every single month you get a box with something new. So you subscribe. Maybe it's wine, you know, and some people are saying, well, that's an essential part of our diet is having a wine in my house. Okay, well, maybe it's other kinds of subscription, right? Makeup, whatever, who knows? And so those are subscription boxes. Let's take a look at your Sirius XM radio. Most of you are probably not in your cars right now, so you should probably call up Sirius XM and say, hey, by the way, I'd like to cancel my subscription or postpone my subscription right now, or iHeartRadio, and the list goes on. I just threw a couple examples at you of things that you can look at right now in terms of minimizing or eliminating some of your monthly expenses during a crisis. So I looked at this at like $75 a month. Some of you guys could be even higher if you're buying good wine. Some of you maybe a little bit lower. But the bottom line is you're spending this money and you've ignored this cash flow, this cash expense on a monthly basis that is really unnecessary. What else? How about gym memberships? This is a time for you to be working out at your home. Do the push-ups, do the sit-ups, do some burpees, jumping jacks, whatever you've got to do. Start working out in your house, but you're not going to the gym, and you may want to call your gym membership right now and say, hey, look, I'd like to postpone or cancel my gym membership right now, and you can. A lot of this stuff is, you're not supposed to be paying for a service that you can't use. So you legally can, even if you're in a contract, you can actually cancel the subscription right now or postpone it. Again, some of you guys are paying more than $400. Some of you guys are paying less than $400. $40, you're paying more. Some of you guys a little bit less. I averaged it about $40 a month. Okay. Now, cable TV. Look. This is not a time for you to be watching cable TV, right, where you're glued to it for 24 hours a day, and you're watching all the crap news anyway, okay? So most people today, like my children, don't even watch cable TV. They've got Netflix, they got Hulu, they're on Yahoo Prime, Prime Video, which is Amazon. So, these are subscriptions, and they're a lot less. I was talking to a person the other day, and he was telling me that he cut his cable TV, which was great news, and he was spending $250 a month. He was subscribing to all the movie channels, HBO, Cinemax, whatever else that's out there. He hit the cancel. He goes, I cancel it, John, because I can't sit there and imagine watching, all these different TV shows. And I said, you're absolutely right. So that's a $250 savings right there, or more, or less. But I averaged about $200, all right? What else? Online retail therapy. Some of you guys are trying to figure out ways to occupy your time, and you don't know what you're doing. So where you're online, right? You're like retail therapy, you're shopping. Not a good thing for you to be doing is shopping online right now in a time of crisis. Like I would not be buying stuff all on Amazon, different, retail stores that you may be on. This is a chance for you to stop spending your money and start saving your money, okay? And if you look at that, that's $300 a month, okay? Joyrides. I mean, some of you guys are just out driving around and, maybe you're not driving to work, so therefore you're saving money on gas. But if you were to save money right now, just on fuel, that's $100 right there, just a month. I think it was a lot more, but I asked 10 people and what their monthly expenses were with these things, and they basically told me about $100 a month. So I thought $100. I mean, I thought it was a lot more than that. I thought it was closer to $400 because I drive an Escalade, so it is a gas guzzler. It's a big car. I've got a big family. I thought it would be, if you're not driving as much and really just driving to the grocery stores to get your essential food, then this could be $400 a month, right? Because you're not spending money because you're not driving to work right now, right? And you're certainly not in traffic. What else? How about some yard work, right? Listen, this is the time for you to call your gardener or your pool man or whoever and say, look, can you postpone the monthly service for a few months, right? And so, yeah, tell that gardener to stay home and the pool man to stay home. And so, maybe you can just go buy your own chlorine and chlorinize your own pool, right? Maybe you want to go and garden yourself, but save that money, and that could be an additional $250 a month right now, right? So you could reduce this, or maybe if you don't want to tell your pool man to don't come every week, or maybe come once every 2 weeks, or maybe just once a month right now. But the bottom line is it doesn't turn green and it looks like a swamp in your backyard. So there's things that you could do to minimize, right? At least mitigate your fiscal responsibilities here. What else? Gifts. Look, whether you're going to a wedding or birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, all these events are now closed right now or canceled or postponed. So the bottom line is, hey, you're saving money there as well. And what are you saving there? I don't know. I asked 10 people, and I said, what do you think it is? And they said about $200. For me, I thought this was closer to like $1,000. because I go to a wedding and I go to birthdays, and, you know, the amount of cash that we contribute for those things, I can tell you is way more than $1,000 a month. In fact, maybe even more, depending on who's getting married and what our relationship is with that family. But again, that's $200, right? Starbucks, folks, this is not a time for you to go out to Starbucks every single day, right? You need that caffeine addiction. Just you know, make your own coffee, for crying out loud, right? I mean, make some Sanka. So you're like, Sanka, yeah, taster's choice, man, instant coffee. Or worst case, just go and get those pods, the little capsules that you can put. Man, but don't be going to Starbucks right now, right? I mean, even the people at Starbucks, I mean, they should be closed. They should be at home, right, with their families and quarantining themselves. So we can, as they're referring to today all over the news, is to flatten that curve right now. So again, how much is that? If you're spending $5 a day just on a Frappuccino, some of you guys, it's even more. You're spending like $10 a day, because you go in there, you pick up a Frappuccino or whatever, you know, I don't know all the drinks at Starbucks, but all these things that you see in this picture, right? High-end sugar, high-end calories, right? But then you don't stop there, because that's not enough sugar in these little drinks. Now you got to go get a coffee, add a muffin, or you're getting a sandwich. And so at $5 a day, multiply it by 30 days, in 1 month you could be saving yourself $150. I mean, you realize that, I mean, Starbucks, what a terrible way for you to just be blowing money every single day. The list goes on. How about daycare and child services? You are your own daycare and child service now, right? You're 24/7 with your kids. So not sending your child or children to daycare services, that's saving you $1,200 a month. So again, more expenses being eliminated during a crisis. Entertainment. You're not going to movies, you're not going to bars, you're not going to clubs, right? Wherever it is, it's all closed, man. So you might as well right now take that money, go back to some of those old classic movies, watch The Sound of Music, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Gone with the Wind, right? I mean, whatever it is, go watch some movies, some classics, some movies that are inspiring you. I certainly would not be watching Outbreak or Pandemic or Virus or Doomsday or what, you know, movies where, you know, the day after, 3 days after the apocalypse. I mean, I don't know. You know, those are not the kind of things that you should be putting into your brain right now. So again, but if you cut all these out, I mean, you're looking at $200 a month right there, right? I don't know. I'm just going to take a quick 5-second break as I'm drinking my wife just juiced this celery juice. You're like, what in the hell is this thing? This is not green tea. This is not the green machine. This is pure celery juice. Why? Because my wife says it's super healthy for us. And at a time of crisis, we need to make sure that we're eating and drinking good stuff, healthy stuff. So I'm drinking my celery juice. And then, of course, after you drink this, you can't drink or eat or anything else, touch anything for 30 minutes. And so where do we get this idea from? A brother of mine from another mother, his name is Armando Gill, and his wife Kim, who is my sister. These two, I can't say enough about them and how much I appreciate these two, which is another whole story. But anyway, I got to drink this, and my wife just walked over and handed this to me. She says, you got to drink this. And so here I am. Give me a second, guys. Give me a sec. All right, here we go. I'm back. So monthly savings, non-essential. Look at this. I just added up all these expenses right here, and that's almost $3,200 a month. I mean, just think about that. So when people say to me, like, I don't know what to do right now, I say, have you even looked at your monthly expenses? Oh, my God, John, no, I haven't. I'm like, well, but you should, right? I mean, this is very important. You can't sit there and just kind of wing this thing and wonder if you're going to come out of this on the end. You've got to be proactive with your finances right now, okay? Don't ignore it. Okay, some of you guys are like, I don't even want to touch my mail. I don't want to see my bills right now because I don't know how to afford it. But you can't ignore it. You need to face it, okay? And you know what? Let me just tell you what's going to happen. It's very therapeutic, actually, because once you address it and you face it and you're like dealing with it, you kind of have that like sense of like that burden being lifted off your back on, oh, wow. And all of a sudden you start to feel good because you're just like, oh, man, I just cut myself $3,200 a month in expenses right now, right? So just so you know, it's a good thing. How do you further reduce your expenses during a crisis? Well, here's some things that you could do right now. Federal student loan payments. Right now, the CARES Act, and we're going to talk more about the CARES Act in just a moment, includes a provision that reduces interest payments to 0%. And by the way, there's no payment either all the way up to the end of September. So, hey, that's another monthly deduction. And of course, they don't just do it automatically. You got to actually call. Some people said that they do it automatically. I've actually been told that you need to call in and tell them that I want to stop making payments on my student loan and defer them all the way through September, okay? So that's number one. This provision also allows you to suspend your entire monthly payments through the end of September, which is what I just said. Here's the key word, without penalty, okay? Next, mortgage payments. If you've got a mortgage where you've lost a job and you've got reduced wages or you're sick, okay? If your mortgage is owned by a federal agency, you may be able to reduce or even suspend your payments for up to 12 months for one of these reasons. And right now, the coronavirus does fall under this category. It's another thing that's part of the CARES Act where you can suspend and reduce or defer your payments for up to 12 months. So again, this is not going to happen automatically. You have to deal with this. You got to call your bank, right, your federal agency, and say, hey, listen, we're going through this crisis, as you probably know, right? Everybody knows that there's a mortgage payment that you can defer. What would that save you on a monthly basis? Thousands, $2,000, $3,000 a month, okay? Now, car loan payments. Many of you guys have car loans. Did you know that right now, if you've got let me go back here. If you have a car loan payment, if you can verify an economic hardship, which you are right now, your car loan servicer will be willing to suspend your payments for a few months. Okay, now this is not like your mortgage or your student loans, but for a few months they are willing to do this without having a 30-day or 60-day or 90-day ding on your credit report. So good news, right? But again, you've got to call your car loan payment company and deal with this. Credit card payments, okay? Many banks right now credit card issuers are stepping up and trying to help households who have lost income due to the coronavirus or the corona crisis. But it is crucial that you call and ask what help is available. So everybody's got something different. Some people are saying they're willing to stop interest payments for 3-4 months. Some people are saying you can stop payment altogether, but it'll resume back up in August or September. So I want you to realize that all this is available. But again, you have to be proactive. You've got to call your credit card company. It's not like they're just going to stop, because then if you don't even make the payment, then you are going to get a 30-day late, right? Now it dings your credit report, drops your score, and everything else is kind of spirals out of control. So be proactive with this, everyone, okay? Utilities. This is everything, your gas, your power, your trash, your anything that's, with the city. Check in with your utility provider right now about flexible payment programs during a crisis. You'd be surprised what they're offering today. Some are no payment, some are reduced, some are 50%. Whatever it is, it's time for you to pick up the phone and start calling these people and start to reduce and or eliminate some of these expenses. Okay, so I hope that helped you guys out. So I know a lot of people are saying, John, I'm struggling with my car payment. I'm like, oh, did you know? Oh, John, I can't make my mortgage payment. Oh, did you know? They're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. How come no one's talking about this on the news? Well, that's another whole story, right? My mentor the other day kind of alluded to this. He was on a webinar. We had him on last Tuesday. And, on Tuesday, by the way, this coming Tuesday, we have another special guest girl named Fradel Barber. But, look, come on. I mean, the news, what sells on the news? It's only negative stuff. That's why they don't ever talk about positive things, the number of people who are recovering from the coronavirus, and all the good things that are happening. They're not going to talk about that kind of stuff because that stuff doesn't sell. So of course you're going to be, you know, all the negative stuff is on the news. And so just again, I caution you to don't watch the news, okay? Also, there's a couple of SBA programs that I want to talk to you about, government subsidized programs called the EIDL, which is called the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan, and the PPP, okay? So these are the two main programs that are available that everyone should probably jump on and tackle this thing like right now. In fact, this weekend, like today, you should jump on this and address this. So what are these two programs, okay? By the way, this program right here is called the Payroll Protection Program. All right, now listen up, because I have been talking about this and everybody's been listening, but you're not doing anything about it. Okay, some of you are, but not all of you. Some of you guys didn't even know about it. And again, I'm talking about this over and over and over, so you're crystal clear as to what these benefits are and why you should take advantage of it. All right, so let's talk about this. The EIDL, right? And you know what's so funny? Someone actually called me the other day and said, "Oh, John, did you know that there's a program where you can get a $10,000 forgivable loan?" And I was like, yeah, this is what I've been talking about on my podcast or webinars every day for the last 2 weeks. And he goes, "Oh, is that what you were talking about? Oh, I didn't know." And I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been talking about. So listen up, folks. It's called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So here's what I need you to do. Everybody's like, where do I go? What website? It's called covid19relief.sba.gov. Make sure you guys go to that site. Now, the economic disaster plan was typically in the past for hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that. Now they're offering this for the first time ever, a disaster plan for a virus, right? A pandemic, which is the first time ever that I've seen this in, I don't know, 35 years. So this is through the SBA. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Declaration issued by the SBA makes loans available to small businesses and private and nonprofit organizations. Okay, now you can get a loan up to $2 million. Not that you're going to need that much, but some of you might. And here's the bottom line, right? These loans may be used to pay for your debt, your payroll, accounts payable, other bills that can't be paid because of the disaster impact, and the interest rate is 3.75% for small businesses. Now, here's what I also found out is that you can use this for people that are 1099, you're independent contractors. So maybe you have a bookkeeper, right? Somebody who's doing some social media stuff for you, somebody who's doing some work for you on the side, whatever it is, those people, as long as you're paying for it, you can include that as part of this. So 1099 independent contractors are available for this plan. So the good news is, to make it affordable for you to repay this loan back, you can actually take this money and defer it, or not defer, excuse me, to make a payment over a 30-year period, which is that's a long time for you to make your payments back. Now here's the good news here, and I put it in big, bold red so you can see that the first month's payments are deferred for a full year from the date of your promissory note. So if your loan actually got issued, let's say May 1st, you don't have to make a payment until next year, May. So it gives you plenty of time for you to use this money to stay in business, keep your business moving and rocking and shaking, right? And the great news is that you don't need any collateral or any of that kind of stuff. It is solely based on your credit score, okay? Your credit score. So in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about credit fixing, because we want to help you fix your credit in the next 2 weeks. And so it's very important for you guys to jump on that call. So what's cool about this is, again, no personal guarantees. You don't need to have real estate. You don't need collateral, any of that kind of stuff, right? So it's pretty cool. And as we just mentioned, part of this program, $10,000 of it can be a grant, which means this cash advance can be forgiven, which means you never have to pay it back. The government is giving you $10,000 right now to keep your business going, to keep your payroll going, paid leave, whatever else it is, as long as you can show proof that this money is going to pay for all this stuff, okay? Pretty cool, $10,000, grant forgiven. This has nothing to do with how much other assets you've got, right? Or, you know, if you own a house or you don't, it doesn't matter, right? If you're a business, whatever, you can be making $1 million or you can be making $10,000 or you can get this, you can qualify for this $10,000 grant, okay? Again, as long as it says here, if you spend the money on these things right here, okay? Pretty cool. Next. It also expands to sole proprietors or independent contractors. So a lot of people said, John, do I have to be an S corporation or an LLC or a C corp? And the answer is no. You could just be a sole proprietor without any of those business official titles and how you hold all that title. Or you could just be an independent contractor, 1099. You could be an Uber driver, right? DoorDash or whatever, Lyft. As long as you're, you know, an independent contractor, there you have it. Again, earlier I mentioned this, prepayment, no guarantees, no loan fees, and you have to be in business by January 31st. Now, this is key, January 31st, because we're going to talk about the other loan, the PPP, which actually is a different day, okay? So you've got to be in business now and receive before you get this grant. So these are California and some of the counties and all that, but at this point, it's all cities and counties, so this page doesn't even matter anymore. So again, I want you to go to covid19relief.sba.gov, and then that now takes me to this CARES Act, okay? So again, there is this whole income tax credit against your 2020 income. These are the amounts that you can actually get. You do have to have a certain amount of income, where if you make too much, then you don't qualify for this, okay? So if your income is within this, then you can certainly qualify. But I think I want to get into some more of the other parts that are I think that people want to know about, which is this. Right now, plans like 401k plans and IRAs, SEP IRAs, 403b, deferred comp, 457 plans, all those accounts, even though you're working at this company, if you have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or a spouse or a child or somebody dependent on you, or if you are experiencing adverse financial consequences from quarantine, furlough, layoff, or reduced hours due to the coronavirus, and you're unable to work due to what? Child care, because you're not watching your children, boy, let me just tell you something. You can get up to $100,000 right now. It doesn't matter. Your employer must release up to $100,000 for you. And here's the cool thing. You're like, well, John, I'm going to get penalized if I take this money out prior to 59 and a half because I'm only 42. Okay, well, no problem. The CARES Act, the federal government basically says that the distributions are exempt, from the 10% penalty tax. So that's great news. Now, a lot of people are asking, so do I still pay taxes? And the answer is yeah. Now, when they give you, your company gives you this money, if you're taking money from your employer, there is no mandatory withholding, okay? But here's the good news. The taxes you do have to pay, whatever tax bracket you're in, okay, can be paid over 3 years. So that's huge, right? So if your tax bill was $10,000, you can actually take that $10,000 and spread it over a 3-year period, which helps you offset having to pay those taxes, okay? In a lump sum, that is. Other things about this, RMDs, required minimum distributions are temporarily waived. So those of you that are 70 and a half years of age and older, you got to start taking minimum distributions that are required by the federal government. And this year for 2020, it's waived. If you took money out of this or know people who took money out of this last year or this year in the first quarter, they can actually get the money back. So some people say, well, what's the benefit of this? Like, why is that such a big deal? The reason is because you don't want to pay taxes on that money right now, right? So if you don't want to pay taxes and you don't need the money, you can actually give the money back so you don't have to pay the taxes on that. Okay. Now, a lot of you guys are going, I don't understand. What is this all about? If you're joining us for the first time, this is what it's, the reason why you don't understand is because, number one, no one ever taught it to you, and what all these RMDs mean, or 457, and, you know, all these different retirement accounts and how they work. And so that's really what my whole mission is. My mission is to educate people about money, about finance, and to make sure that they are financially literate, and most people are not financially literate, okay? And so our company is very poised and excited to help people understand money and finance. And what better time than now to start learning a little bit more about these kinds of things. And if you have any questions about this stuff, get with the person who invited you and ask them to help you out, right, on this webinar. If they said, hey, you got to jump on this webinar on Saturday morning, and I'm glad that you did. I'm glad you joined us this morning, and I hope that you're just one extra person that we did this webinar for, so we can get you to understand how important it is for you to get yourself educated about money and finance. For those of you that have a defined benefit plan, during the year 2020, you can put contributions now all the way up until January 1st. So again, if you don't know what that means, get with the person who invited you. If you're like, what does that mean to have a defined benefit plan? Talk to the person who invited you, and they'll tell you more about that kind of stuff, okay? Student loan payments, as I told you earlier, they're deferred all the way up to the end of the month of September, okay? Unemployment has been bumped by $600 a week, and the benefit period is extended by 13 weeks. So now you're going to get a little more money, and you're also going to get it for a little longer period of time. So pretty cool stuff right here, but again, you need to be proactive with this stuff. Small business benefits, again, earlier I told you you can borrow up to $10 million for the, $2 million for the other loan. You can go to $10 million with this particular CARES Act, which is that, different package. The interest rate on this is 4%, unlike the other one was 3.75. And again, you don't have to make full payments or any kind of payments until later on, and pretty cool. But the only difference is under this CARES Act, there is this thing called the Paycheck Protection Program. And what this Paycheck Protection Program basically says is, hey, you can give loan forgiveness in the new Paycheck Protection Program. And here's how the loan forgiveness program works. Your company's expenses for the 8-week period after the origination of the loan will be analyzed. Every dollar your company spent on payroll, utilities, rent, or interest on mortgage debt will be added together. That amount will be forgiven up to the total amount your company brought through the program. Now, there's one caveat. The amount that is forgiven will be reduced for businesses that lay off employees during the first 8 weeks following the loan. So this is a time where you're not supposed to lay people off, right? You lay people off, you're not going to get a lot of the benefits here, okay? So companies that reduce wages of employees who make less than $100,000 a year by 25% or more will also have the forgivable amount reduced by the amount of the pay cut. Businesses that have already let employees go before accepting the loan and are trying to rehire them will not be subject to such penalties, though. So bring them back. Right? Get them back on your payroll. And if those businesses rehire employees after accepting the loans, they'll receive additional credit to cover their wages. So again, the government's helping you out so that you can keep your employees intact. So when can you apply? So this is where some of the confusion is, because a lot of people went on earlier. So for small business owners and sole proprietors, April 3rd, right? So now you got April 3rd, that's when you can apply. So like right now, we just passed the deadline. And then if you're an independent contractor and self-employed, it's April 10th. Okay, so those are the dates when you can start applying for this program. So a lot of you said, well, I applied, but I haven't heard anything. I went and did all the paperwork, John. I haven't heard anything. Well, because you did it too early, right? So now you can, you'll start to probably get a response from these people once we hit all these dates. okay? And you got to remember, there's millions and millions and millions of business owners that are going in here. And by the way, this is a first come, first serve. Once all the grant money in this particular program has been exhausted, that's it. There's no more money. There's only a certain amount of money that the government actually put into this program. So, you know, once this program is exhausted, there isn't any more money left there for you. 1099 workers, business owners should not include 1099 payments when calculating their average monthly payroll, though, okay? So, so that's not part of it, but you can use it still as an expense. Venture-backed startups. I don't think anybody on this call is part of the venture-backed startups, but if it is, here's some information on it. Okay, I'm going to move on. And by the way, this Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, you got to go to a bank. So you got to go to your local bank. Now, Wells Fargo just went on the web and basically told all their people coming to Wells Fargo, go to a different bank because they're just getting slammed and inundated with inbound applications. So you might want to go to a different bank to qualify for this program, okay? Now, who can qualify again? Self-employed, sole proprietors, freelance, gig economy workers. All of you are eligible to apply. And so I would say right now that those of you that are on here, if you're an insurance agent, securities person, you're independent contractor, real estate agents, right, brokers, you can all qualify for this program right here, okay? Moving on. Again, this thing also, no personal guarantee or collateral is required for the loan. Now with this one, the other loan, the EIDL, was automatically at 12 months. This one may defer it up to 6 months depending on your cash flow. The loan term for this is 10 years. The other one was, the other one earlier I told you was up to 30 years. The other one loan was 3.75. This one is 4%. I mentioned that to you as all part of the CARES Act. Also, this plan is the $10,000 advanced EDLI. We talked about that earlier. And loan forgiveness on non-payroll expenses, no more than 25% of the given PPP amount can be used for the non-payroll expenses and still be forgiven. Loan issuers, there will be a list of approved banks at SBA.gov. Though there are no lists up as of Wednesday morning, so I think you should be able to go and check it out because this was just a few days ago. So again, we just talked about increasing your cash flow and managing your debt here, and so now let's talk about an emergency fund, right? Hey, look, emergency funds happen, and it's important right now that you start, you know, saving money. As all the different ways I shared with you earlier, I want you to start saving money. So don't you think you need to have an emergency fund? Now, if you go online and you go to textbooks, they'll say 3 months, 4, 5 months, 6 months max. I totally disagree with that. In the world that we live in today, since 08, 9, and 10, I now believe that we need to have at least 1 year's worth of emergency funds. So whether it's a major car repair, extended long-term elderly care, right, major appliances for repair or replacement, home repairs, if you're a homeowner, man, you better start saving some money. Serious illness or hospitalization, right, loss of a job, natural disasters and pandemics, all these are emergencies. We don't think this stuff will happen. We can't even imagine that these things could all affect every single one of us, but it's real, right? I mean, I was just notified just a little bit ago, about an hour ago, that one of our what I call an SMD or upper management people just passed away yesterday of the COVID-19, and the husband did, and for privacy reasons, I'm not saying his name, but one of our SMDs actually passed away yesterday. His wife is also got COVID-19, but she's at home right now, quarantining herself. But, you know, this is real, folks. I mean, this is not... you know, you can't sit there and think that you're immune to this and you're not going to get it. So all these things can happen to every single one of you. So whether you start now or later, you got to start saving money for an emergency. So there you have it. Those are the emergency funds. Now let's talk about proper protection and creating a long-term savings account. Where can you go and protect you and protect your money and create a long-term savings account, right? So, and then of course, preserving your estate. I'm not going to have any time about talking about trusts and asset protection, but let's talk about 4 and 5. Let's talk about index annuities here. Okay, let me just go back. They're called indexed annuities. So indexed annuities, there are plans right now. Companies like Nationwide, Global Atlantic, North American. By the way, this one right here is no longer exist. Well, it exists. It's just they've discontinued this for new investors now. This number right here, 20% is now 10%. But let me explain to you what this means. A company called Athene, A-rated insurance company, says, hey, look, we know that the market is very volatile and very unstable. So here, minimum investment is $10,000. They'll take up to $1 million, $2 million on some exceptions if you want to do more than that. But they'll give you 20% up front. They guarantee your principal for income, and then the way your money grows, it's based on whatever the S&P 500 does, and they have a multiplier. So let's say that the S&P 500 did 10%, they'll multiply that by 175 and give you 17,500. Some people said, no, I still don't want to be in the market or the S&P 500, so you got this one that doesn't have that, but they'll guarantee you 10% every year guaranteed, okay? So that's kind of cool. 10% simple interest for the next 10 years, guaranteed. They give you a 10% sign-in bonus. Folks, what a great opportunity for you to put your money in places like this. So as I said, proper protection. We're protecting your money, right? Long-term accumulation, right? It's growing with a bonus, and it's growing at 10% or 175% multiplier of the S&P 500 interest. So there's some different options here for you. If you don't know anything about this, get with the person who invited you and say, hey, what was John talking about? I don't get it. Are you serious? Like, if I put my $100,000 in there because I can take money out of my 401k plan, I can have my principal guaranteed and get 20% upfront and get a or get a 10% or 175? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. You could even put 50,000 here and 50,000 here and see which way it goes. Okay, so you can do a little bit of both. So some options there for you to think about. So for those of you right now, everybody says, well, John, I need to make money. Like right now, I don't even have money to invest my money. Okay, great. Well, let me just tell you something. Right now, just so you know, we need help. We need you to work with us because our business is exploding. People who are getting laid off, they got to roll over their money. They call them IRA rollovers, right? Our average account is $100,000 right now. People who have money inside their 401k plan where the money could be going up and down, right? It could be going like this, and they don't want that, and so they want to move that money into somewhere that's guaranteed, where the principal is guaranteed. If we move this money over, here's how much we get paid. We get paid about 5% on this, which is $5,000, and the average commission is about 50%. Somewhere between 30 and 70% is what you get paid. Let's say you average 50%, folks, you're going to make $2,500. You see like 3 or 4 of these customers, you're making $7,500 to $10,000 a month right now in an economic crisis, right? So during a pandemic, you could be doing this sitting at your home in front of your computer. So again, I want you to ask the person who invited you to learn more about this. There are some licensing requirements. It's about $188 to go get your license right now with the state of California. We've got testing centers that are open for you to go and take your exam. You could literally have your license in less than 5 days, okay, and start making some money. So some people say, well, what if we're not doing rollover? Some people just want to put in, $500 a month. Same thing. We can take $500 a month, multiply it by 12 months. It's $6,000. You're going to make about 50% on average. You make $3,000. If you saw 4 of these clients, folks, you're making $12,000. Again, you could do this online with your computer, and you could do it at the comfort of your own house. Okay, so all this is available for you guys. So you can make a ton of money right now in this business and in this space, right? And so don't worry, we're here to help you guys out. But I just want you guys to know that you've got to be very, very proactive and taking care of your personal finances, right? You can't sit at home and go into a, depressed mode and get all curled up in a fetal position, laying on your couch or your bed and saying there's no hope. There is hope, right? That's why we're on this call with you right now. That's why we're having this webinar, right? We want to inspire you somehow. We want you to understand that not everybody is suffering out there today financially, okay? So, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. There's always somebody making money out there, and we're making that money. I want to encourage you to read my book. I want you to go and watch the movie, right? I want you to follow me on Instagram and get on, some of the posts. I've got some more stuff almost every other day that I'm posting that provides you guys some content. Okay, we're trying to help you, but you got to let us help you, right? Don't be stubborn. Let us help you and guide you during these crazy times. And so I want to thank you guys for joining us today, but I want to make sure and encourage you to get with the person who invited you today and make sure you get more details, right? Say, hey, listen, John went through that pretty quickly. I've got some questions. If you want to get with the person who invited you and say, hey, is there a way that I can do a webinar with John this week or just a one-on-one, kind of like we can do a Zoom call and meet, digitally here through Zoom. But I just want you guys to know, man, the people that are on this call, my staff, myself, we're in this with you, and we're here to help in any way we can. So we want to wish you guys all a wonderful, beautiful weekend. Thank God the rain is gone here in Southern California, depending on where you guys are calling or jumping on for this webinar. But today we've got, not to stick it in your face for those of you that got dark clouds wherever you're living, but right now we've got blue skies. The sun is out. It's beautiful. Go outside, get a little bit of sun in your backyard. That doesn't mean to go wander around, but to go outside in your backyard and get a little bit of that sun. If you're not into the sun thing, make sure you guys take some vitamin D, right? Because you don't want to be vitamin D deficient. And we hope you guys have a beautiful weekend. Happy Easter to every single one of you guys and your family. We love you guys. We're thinking of you. And again, next week on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, join us for a 90-minute webinar, 90 minutes, 7:30 to 9 o'clock. I've got some great content to share with you, and we've got this amazing business lady named Fredo Barber joining us. We look forward to sharing more with you guys. Look forward to meeting you guys all someday face-to-face. But in the meantime, have a beautiful weekend. We love you. Take care.